When the local animal shelter saw a power bill way too big for their budget, the local community took it upon themselves to help them out. I'm Amber Jenkins on KOAM News with the story.
Plus, a memo from the Oklahoma Attorney General aims to clarify the state's abortion laws and what drivers in Joplin need to know ahead of a bridge construction on Rangeline Road.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The McDonald County Sheriff's Office partnered up with the Black Rain Ordinance to purchase 20 suppressed short barrel rifles. The Sheriff's Office is upgrading its rifles from the Department of Defense rifles they are currently using.
They have recently purchased new weapon systems from Black Rain Ordnance. It's been a process. We've been working with them for about the last 3 months to make them some modern weapons to fit their operational needs.
The sergeant says the new rifles will help them be able to do their job better and faster. An online community lent a paw to help out a local animal shelter with an electric bill in the thousands. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
Carthage Humane Society opened their monthly utility bill to an shocking amount. The shelter owed more than $2,000.
How are we going to pay this bill? Last month, our bill had jumped from $600 to $1,000, and that was difficult. But then it doubled to $2,000.
Renee says the extreme heat is the reason why their utility bill was so high. They must keep safe temperatures for the animals.
We're in crisis mode here, and I went to our faithful followers and the community, and I asked for help to meet that need.
The donations from the shelter's Facebook followers actually went over the requested amount. The shelter was given more than $3,000.
It's like, yay, we've got $1,000 to apply to next month's bill. So yeah, it was a great blessing.
Even though monetary donations is very helpful to the shelter, you can even help the shelter by just a simple click of the button.
I know there are a lot of people, they can't come out and volunteer, but they can click a button and send $25, and that $25 goes a long way to help the shelter.
Taking care of the homeless animals can be expensive, but the community and volunteers make it possible.
You know how hard it is to take care of one pet. Imagine 200 pets, it's just nonstop.
Reporting in Carthage, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
The shelter also accepts donations of animal food, toys, and cleaning supplies. Joplin's Rangeland Bridge closes Tuesday morning at 5 for construction. KOAM's Yana Haldala talked with officials and business owners about the project's impact for residents, businesses, and visitors to the city.
The Rangeline Bridge construction has been on planning all summer and is finally set to start next week. Officials ask residents to be patient and replan their route for work for next Tuesday. The Rangeline Bridge near Lowe's is part of Governor Mike Parson's Focus on Bridges program, which plans to repair or replace 250 bridges statewide. The current bridge does not have sidewalks, but the new one will.
This is actually new to tie into what's there to create a continuous path for pedestrians as well as vehicular traffic.
MoDOT is putting up signs to indicate the detour. However, it is a state route, meaning it may be longer than one drivers may find on their own.
As a state organization, we can only detour on state routes. So you say, oh my goodness, that's so far away out of the way. Again, I'm sure locals will find their own way around.
Andy's Frozen Custard is just south of the bridge. The closure may affect the amount of customers to the business.
So we've actually tweaked our numbers a little bit for our sales projections, just assuming that we probably will lose some business just because it is the busiest road in town.
But the general manager says they will still be open normally.
We're hoping that people will take time to stop, especially with that side road still being open next to us, maybe take some time to look over and hopefully see us and remember that we're still here.
For the first months, the workers are planning to work on the project 24/7. Only thing that would stop them is the train going under the bridge.
To leave it actually open, it'll be an active rail line all during construction, so we have to leave access to the railroad at all times.
Officials say construction should not cause too much noise for the businesses nearby. The workers will try to have the bridge open as soon as they can.
87 days is what it is bid at. So yeah, as soon as we get the bridge done, okay, we'll open it up for traffic.
In Joplin, Yana Haldala, KOAM News.
The project is expected to be done and completed by December 16th. You can find a link to more detailed information about the detour route on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. And hopefully by then, as they're working on the bridge, temperatures will cool down. Sam, what do you have for us?
Yeah, that would be nice if they had some cool weather to work on that bridge, and it looks like we're going to be seeing normal temperatures this week. This afternoon you saw some showers and thunderstorms down to the south and east of us. They're now pushing away, and instead we just have some moisture left in the atmosphere. It was pretty warm today, especially out to the west. Check out some of these temperatures this afternoon. Close to 90 degrees in Chanute and in Yates Center, 87 in Independence, 82 here in Joplin. But notice just to the east, it stayed in the 70s for the most part, 73 in Stockton and 77 in Monette. Now stay tuned because we're going to have a complete Labor Day forecast coming up right ahead.
President Biden is back at the White House following his speech to the country last night in the city of brotherly love. Fox's Madeline Rivera is in Washington with details.
Equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise.
A warning from President Biden Thursday night in Philadelphia about the future of U.S. democracy. He took sharp aim at former President Trump and his supporters, arguing they want to take the country backwards.
MAGA Republicans look at America and see carnage and darkness and despair. They spread fear and lies. Lies told for profit and power.
The president's address comes at a time when Democrats feel they have increasing momentum ahead of the midterm elections, with issues like abortion motivating voters to the polls.
In America, democracy is clearly under attack, as we saw on January 6th, but freedom's under attack, too, by a Supreme Court that has been gerrymandered by Donald Trump's party.
In response, former President Trump blasted the speech. Congressional Republicans called it insulting to millions of Americans. They believe President Biden is trying to distract voters from historic inflation and rising crime.
I'm very disappointed that the president would call people who don't agree with him those kind of names. I just think he's made a political mistake, but it says something about his administration.
Recent polling suggests Republicans are losing steam ahead of the November election to win back control of the House. The Senate is also in play. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
The Justice Department released a more detailed inventory of the items seized at Mar-a-Lago last month. The list reveals, in general terms, what was in the 33 boxes recovered from the property. Madeline Rivera has another story as she reports from Washington.
A more detailed inventory of the 33 boxes taken from Mar-a-Lago shows classified documents were stashed in containers filled with other miscellaneous items. In one box, 7 government records marked top secret were mixed in with magazines, newspapers, and other articles. There were also 43 empty folders with classified banners. Overall, more than 10,000 government records with no classification markings were recovered.
Even if they're classified, even if they're subject to executive privilege, they still belong to the government.
Former Attorney General Bill Barr is skeptical of his former boss's claim that he had declassified top secret files.
If in fact he sort of stood over scores of boxes, not really knowing what was in them, and said, I hereby declassify everything in here, that would be such an abuse.
The Justice Department says it is continuing to see if any items are subject to attorney-client privilege. Judge Eileen Cannon releasing the inventory one day after she heard arguments over whether a neutral third party should be appointed to review the documents.
She's going to likely want to just go ahead and name the special master. That could be a retired judge or someone who's dealt with these cases in the past.
Judge Cannon had signaled she is open to appointing a special master, but hasn't yet made a final decision.
I think a special master would provide that oversight and accountability that would, allay a lot of Americans' fears.
House Republican leaders have sent a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Christopher Wray calling for them to participate in public hearings regarding the search. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
We now take time to honor one of our four-state heroes. Staff Sergeant Lowell Hornback, a Carthage, Missouri native, served in the Air Force. He was a part of the 525th Fighter Interception Unit. He also served during the Vietnam War. To Staff Sergeant Lowell Hornback, we thank you, our four-state hero. And Sam is next with a complete look at the forecast. But later, a former local high school standout shines for Pitt State in their season opening win over Central Missouri. We'll have more in sports.
Well, we started the holiday weekend off pretty well with mostly sunny skies this afternoon after some morning rain, but we needed the rain, and now we're looking at pleasant conditions down there in Seneca, Missouri at the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Pretty nice night, and it looks like it's going to be that way for several hours. And then as we start the weekend, it's going to get pretty interesting around here with some changes in the forecast, and we'll get to that in a second. This afternoon, we made it up to 82 degrees after starting out at 68, which was above normal, but we were below normal on the high. And of course, thank goodness we weren't anywhere close to that 105 back in 2000. We did pick up 0.2 of an inch of rain this morning, and that brings us up to 0.25 so far for the month. So we're starting off pretty good. And you can see on the rainfall map over the last 24 to 48 hours, the heaviest rain has been down to the south and east from, let's say, Monette down into Branson, and then also another swath of heavy rain in around the Tulsa area. But check out the folks up to the north. Hardly a drop in the bucket up there. Hopefully that will change over the next few days, but we don't want a complete washout for your holiday forecast. All right, let's take a look at the radar right now. You can see most of the rain is now well off to the east from Rolla down into northern parts of Arkansas, but that is now moving away from us. We're going to have to wait for another round of storms to develop tomorrow, and we'll get to that in a second. Wanted to show you the lake levels. Grand Lake is at 743.9 or 09, which is just almost a foot below normal. And if we go over to Beaver Lake, you can see that it's about 3/4 of a foot below normal right now as well. And also Table Rock Lake is around 3 feet below normal. And Stockton Lake, if you're heading out to the lake, is about 4 feet below normal. And we definitely need some more rainfall to start filling up some of these lakes across our area. Temperatures right now are in the mid-70s in a lot of locations, 72 here in Joplin and Carthage, 71 in Bella Vista. And if we take a look at the dew points, they're pretty much in the upper 60s to right around 70 degrees. And on a dew point tracker, that means it's around muggy conditions with the moisture in the atmosphere from all the rainfall. Right now in Joplin, we're 72. Feels like 72 because the dew point is 69, but it makes a high relative humidity of 91%. And speaking of high humidity, tomorrow morning we expect dense fog to form across our area. So be aware if you're going to be driving out and about to keep those beams on low, as we're going to see the fog start to burn off around mid-morning towards early afternoon. All right, let's take a look at the future track forecast for tonight. Here's the fog and the clouds in the morning with lows in the 60s. Then as we go through the afternoon, we're going to see temperatures in the mid-80s and a pretty good chance of storms possible way out to the west and down into north central Oklahoma. Then as we go through our forecast into Sunday morning, we're going to see lows once again in the mid-60s with scattered showers possible. And then again Sunday afternoon, isolated storms dotted around the area with highs in the mid to upper 80s across our region. Pick out your hometown. Then as we go into Labor Day morning, we'll see again lows in the mid 60s with a chance of isolated scattered showers. Now, on the rainfall amounts, we're not expecting a lot. In fact, the models are kind of keeping some folks totally dry with the best chance of rain off towards the east, towards Branson, where they could pick up around 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit less. All right, your 7-day forecast as we head through tomorrow, 86 with fog in the morning, 87 on Sunday, and then maybe a 30% chance of storms on Monday for your Labor Day. And then we start to turn a little bit drier as we begin the week. And then, but temperatures are still going to be right around normal with highs in the mid 80s. Not too bad.
I know those 80s are normal, but it's good to just see them and see potential rain on the forecast.
Absolutely.
But to the fog, you know, everybody out there traveling, please be safe.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Sam. The Labor Day holiday is expected to be one of the busiest travel weekends of the year. Airlines hope to rebound after several months of cancellations or delayed flights. Fox News' Garrett Tenney has more.
This weekend marks the unofficial end to the summer travel season, and millions of Americans are heading out for one last trip.
Honestly, just the perfect time to actually do it, so I was like, I might as well take it for Labor Day.
AAA says bookings for domestic travel are up 20% compared to last Labor Day weekend. Airfare is also on the rise. According to Hopper, people are paying an average $278 round trip. Travel experts say despite the high prices, more than 12 million Americans are expected to pass through airports.
When it comes to the recreational or leisure trips, people will still prioritize their budgets to take those family road trips and those vacations with their loved ones.
The last few months were marked by numerous delays and cancellations at airports nationwide. This week, nearly 10 major airlines announced plans to provide free meals or hotel stays in the event of flight disruptions. Travelers say everything is moving smoothly so far.
It's been great.
No crowds or nothing.
But it's a different case internationally. On Friday, hundreds of Lufthansa flights were canceled as pilots staged a one-day strike to demand better pay and working conditions. The walkout stranded some passengers here in the U.S.
The last time I flew was in May, and there were no problems. So I think a lot of these issues have been now, June, July, August.
AAA recommends getting to the airport 2 hours early for domestic flights and 3 hours for international ones. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
Coming up, what the current state of our economy looks like. The August jobs report coming in as many economists expected. The Federal Reserve will consider that data when it considers possible rate hikes later this month. Fox's Chris Foster has more.
The U.S. economy seeing a slowdown in hiring last month. 315,000 new jobs were added in August. That's down from 526,000 added in July.
The great American jobs machine continues its comeback. American workers are back to work, earning more, manufacturing more, building an economy from the bottom up and the middle out.
The unemployment rate jumped to 3.7%.
It went up for a good reason. We saw 786,000 people enter back into the labor force. That's one of the biggest numbers we've seen in years.
Economic experts blame the slowdown on recent interest rate hikes and high costs. There were job gains in several areas, including healthcare and retail trade. Wages at a 5.2% annual rate, still not keeping up with the pace of inflation. There's been continued signs of weakening, with major companies such as Peloton, Remax, and Bed Bath & Beyond announcing layoffs.
You still have that gap between inflation and wages. That workers have lost about 3% in terms of their real wages, and that's a real pinch for families.
Friday's report will play a major factor later this month when the Federal Reserve decides whether or not to hike interest rates again. After July's job release, Chairman Jerome Powell warned that rate hikes would continue until inflation comes down.
Investors are trying to decide whether or not the Fed probably hikes 75 or 50 basis points, and then how we're going to be set up for the rest of the year. The valuations on especially sectors like technology really come under pressure.
The next report that economists will be watching comes next week with the release of the Consumer Price Index, a key indicator of inflation. Chris Foster, Fox News.
Fox News Business Network's Jerry Willis has a look at this week's business review.
No labor pains for our labor market as we head into Labor Day. The government says 315,000 jobs were added to the economy last month. That was in line with what analysts were expecting, but fewer than we added in July. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate rose a little to 3.7%. Stocks falling on Friday. The markets were up early but couldn't hold on to the gains. Investors are worried things like the good jobs report will give the Federal Reserve more incentive to keep hiking interest rates. And Friday's sell-off helped send the markets lower for the third week in a row. The Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ were all down 3% or more. And finally, gas prices are still going down as we head into the holiday weekend. AAA says the national average cost for regular is $3.81 a gallon. That's 6 cents cheaper than a week ago and 38 cents less than a month ago. Have a happy and safe Labor Day, everyone. That's business. I'm Jerry Willis.
And still ahead, how hospitals are receiving more training to fight overdoses. Today was National Overdose Awareness Day. And with the rise in opioid-related overdoses, one hospital in Chicago is working to train citizens on how to use a potentially life-saving remedy for those experiencing overdoses. Fox's Dane Placco has more.
Today is International Overdose Awareness Day, which is why they're doing some community training here at Loretto Hospital on the west side that could potentially help save lives.
And you want to administer the Narcan into one nostril. You want to wait 2 to 3 minutes to see if that person is breathing.
Residents of the west side and people who work in community programs here as well are gathering at Loretto today for some hands-on training on the administration of Narcan, a drug that can instantly reverse the effects of an overdose. They're being shown how to identify the signs of someone who's overdosed and how to use the nasal spray. Now, each participant is also getting a free dose of Narcan, which retails for about $50. In Cook County alone, more than 2,100 people died from an opioid overdose last year, and a disproportionate number of those deaths occurred here on the west side.
Here in the Austin community, we see opioid overdoses in the ER every single day.
Every day?
Every day, several times a day.
We know by the numbers that the first person that comes in contact with someone that's having an overdose is a close friend or family member. And the more people we can get educated within the community, the more chances we have of saving someone's life.
They say the goal is to get the Narcan in as many hands as possible, especially in the hands of friends and family members and loved ones of those suffering from addiction. At Loretto Hospital, Dane Placco, Fox 32 Chicago.
Next, how Netflix has helped resurge chess. A timeless game is seeing a resurgence in its popularity. Fox News' Marianne Rafferty has a closer look at what's making people go crazy over chess.
It's a game dating back hundreds of years. But no matter how long chess has been around for, its popularity continues rising to new heights.
We've seen an increase in memberships on every website, every chess website. Here at the St. Louis Chess Club, we've experienced the same thing.
Some of the world's top players say the current uptick in participation is all thanks to the legacy of one streaming giant's hit show, and of all things, COVID-19.
We had this boom coming from The Queen's Gambit, the Netflix series that put a spotlight on how cool chess can be as a competitive sport. And of course, the pandemic forced a lot of people to find new avenues of entertainment.
According to Netflix, 62 million homes watched The Queen's Gambit in the first 28 days of its release.
Chess.
And while the show celebrates a fictional chess prodigy, in real life, all eyes are glued to Magnus Carlsen, the reigning 5-time world chess champion.
He has been a legend of the chess world, the dominant force for the last 10 years.
Professional players say Carlsen's legacy is inspiring. But if you're like many people now toying with the idea of getting into chess, experts say it's a lot easier than you think.
You can sit down and learn the rules of chess within 30 minutes, and you'll discover that the more time you spend on it, the more you gather ideas that you're able to understand what top players are doing.
If you crave more chess, check out the Grand Chess Tour, a traveling tournament for some of the best players. The competition just began its final leg in St. Louis this week and ends September 12th. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Have you ever wondered if your favorite writers hit as hard in real life as they do in their books? Well, you can now find out thanks to an unusual new game combining writing with fighting. Fox's Iman Digman has more in this edition of Fox Games series.
Games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were instrumental in defining the fighting game genre. But now, a new game from an indie developer is applying that formula to classic authors. In the game Write and Fight, the likes of William Shakespeare, Mark Twain, and H.P. Lovecraft can go head-to-head in a beat-em-up match, using themes of their writings as special moves. And the background fighting arenas also match some of their thematics. There are 4 optional modes, 2 that test your reflexes by making the game faster, 1 that changes the game into rock, paper, scissors, and another that reduces the graphics to give it that old arcade feel. Among the authors trading their pens for pugilism, Leo Tolstoy, Charles Dickens, James Joyce, and others from around the world. After launching in the online store Steam in August, Write and Fight got some early mixed reviews, with some saying the launch has been rough and the game needs to be debugged. Developers are very active on the Steam review page responding to criticism and promising fixes, but when it comes down to the game itself, I firmly believe Ernest Hemingway will be the strongest, both on the page and on the screen. In New York, Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
We've got 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up, a new memo was out on Oklahoma abortions and how the Kansas City Royals gave a young man a birthday memory of a lifetime. A new memo from the Oklahoma Attorney General urges prosecutors to pursue charges against those who perform elective abortions, but says they should give, and quote, substantial leeway to doctors threatening pregnant women for emergency conditions. The Attorney General emphasized that Oklahoma's criminal and civil anti-abortion laws do not apply to pregnant women who have an abortion or to unintentional miscarriages or ectopic pregnancies. Only those who perform the abortion or help a woman get one would be prosecuted. A Missouri teen had the birthday of a lifetime, but it didn't start that way. Reporter Sharon Chen has more on the Kansas City Royals and the game that changed it all.
Royals have picked that up offensively and then some
For his 18th birthday, Bruce Williams had but one wish.
Juan Soto's playing. I was like, Juan Soto's going to hit a ball to me. I knew, I was like, if it's coming to me, I'm going to catch it, no problem.
And it happened. 7th inning, Soto steps up to the plate.
He blasted it, and it just sailed through the air.
Bruce was ready to catch that ball, but then, watch what happens.
Hey, that's a guy that dropped Will Myers' home run the other night.
Sure enough, he just took it away from me.
Stolen right out of Bruce's glove. The theft heard around the K, including the Royals' top brass. Nick Peroni is director of guest relations and fan experience.
What I got is basically one of every bobblehead that I had in my collection. And then obviously Bobby Witt being one of our young, exciting superstars, I happen to have an autographed ball from him.
And Peroni also made a call down to Padres camp. We'll get to that in a moment. The Royals identified the man who wronged Bruce as Mark Kirsch, a YouTuber known for a series called Man vs. Impossible.
I was in tears when he stole the ball from me because I've never seen anything like that or experienced anything like that.
But in an instant, Peroni righted that wrong.
Mid me handing him this stuff, he just like jumped towards me and hugged me and he was crying.
Things were definitely made right for me.
And remember that call to the Pods? Bruce ended up with not one signed baseball, but two.
He had a ball signed by Juan Soto. He wrote down like 2019 World Series champ and home run derby and all that crazy cool stuff.
With the words, "Sorry about that," turning the ultimate foul into the biggest birthday win.
It made my birthday super. It really turned a pretty bad event into a good one.
Bruce hoped Kirsch would be banned from Kaufman, but Peroni says that's unlikely. A bit later, the current state of the Mississippi water crisis.
Slumberland.
It was a pretty nice day to start off the holiday weekend with a little bit of rain this morning, but this afternoon the sun came out, dried things up a little bit, and turned out to be a pretty pleasant day. Right now, down in Seneca, Missouri, it's pretty pleasant down there as well. Just a few clouds passing by, as well as here in Joplin. But we're going to see those clouds again tomorrow, and some of those could turn into some showers and thunderstorms. But this afternoon we made it up to 82 degrees, which was a start of, we started out at 68, and we ended up being slightly below normal for the day. 105, the record back in 2000, and we picked up 0.2 of an inch of rain out at the airport. Also some rain down in Texas and Oklahoma around the Tulsa area over the last couple of days, producing quite a bit there. And also from, let's say, Joplin down towards Monette and then down towards Branson. In fact, they've had quite a bit of rain down there, helping fill up the lakes down in that region. Radar right now, live, showing most of the rain is now over in eastern and south central Missouri, extending down into north central Arkansas. This is moving away from us, but we could see more showers and storms develop tomorrow afternoon. And that's going to help out with our drought situation, as we are still in extreme drought for a large portion of our area. And the drought is kind of making the lakes a little bit less than normal. In fact, Grand Lake right now is about a foot below normal if you're heading out to the lakes though over the holiday weekend. Beaver Lake in northwest Arkansas, they're about 3/4 of a foot below normal right now at 1120. Table Rock Lake is about 3 feet below normal at 912.04. And Stockton Lake, they're the champion. They're 4 feet below normal right now at 862. So just be careful if you're heading out to the lakes this weekend. All right, let's take the temperatures right now. In the 70s for the most part from wall to wall, with the exception of Chinook currently checking in with 80 degrees right now and easterly winds. The allergy outlook today was 9.6 out of 12. Tomorrow will be slightly worse at 9.9. So if you're suffering from allergies, most of that is ragweed. Temperatures right now in Joplin at 72, and it feels like 72 because the dew point is 69 degrees and the humidity is getting high. And in fact, we're expecting 100% humidity by tomorrow morning across a large part of our area. And that means fog is likely to develop across our region. So if you're heading out tomorrow morning, be a little bit extra careful. But by afternoon, that will start to burn off. And by mid-morning, we should start to see the clouds break apart and the sun return. Tomorrow morning, we're going to see temperatures in the mid-60s across the area with that scattered fog, especially down to the south and east. Then tomorrow afternoon, mid-80s across our region with a pretty good chance of showers and storms possible, mainly in the western sections, and an isolated storm here and there in our region. Then as we go through Sunday morning, we'll see lows in the mid-60s once again with an isolated shower or two. Then Sunday afternoon, again, isolated storms possible across the area. Not everyone's going to get rain, with a high of around 86. Then as we go into Monday morning, Labor Day, we'll see temperatures again in the mid-60s with isolated showers and storms possible. On the rainfall, not expecting a whole lot across our area, so hopefully you'll dodge those showers and storms as you enjoy the holiday weekend. And then as we go into the next 7 days, we're going to see temperatures right around normal with highs in the mid-80s and slight chance of showers and storms on Monday and Wednesday as well as Thursday. So not too bad of a forecast.
Yeah, not at all. I know we may not want the rain, but we certainly need the rain.
We need it, but hopefully we'll dodge those storms over the weekend.
Absolutely. All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Sam. And coming up in sports, we'll hear from the Missouri Southern Lion following last night's season opener against Nebraska Kearney. Plus a big defensive performance for Pitt State in a Week 1 against Central Missouri. Jacob Leonard joins us with the details after the break.
We're here to help. Well, last night was the opening night of the season for MIAA football. Both Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern had home games in Week 1. Starting with the Gorillas, there were some ups and downs Thursday night, but they ended up taking care of business against Central Missouri. The Pittsburgh State Gorillas opened the season Thursday night with a 21-10 win over Central Missouri.
Great teams win the first game, and that carries on throughout the season. But just all around, you win the first game, carry that into next week. It's great. Great win.
On offense, quarterback Chad Dotson Jr. threw for 387 yards and 3 touchdowns. Senior wideout and Neosho High School product Bryce Murphy had a monster game for the Gorillas, racking up 112 yards and 2 scores, all of it coming in the first half.
The brotherhood that we have, alone, just makes it feel so special. And then to be out there to play healthy for the first time since 2018 is just amazing for me. I felt like I haven't felt in a long time, so it just feels really good to be back out there. There was a lot of Neosho alum, you could say, or Neosho natives here watching me, and it was just really cool. It's a really fun experience to get to do what I did in high school, but at a college level.
The Gorilla defense was dominant all night long, holding the Mules to 212 total yards, including just 33 rushing yards.
When you have great D linemen, that's where it starts. When you have great D linemen, you're going to have 33 rushing yards for the opponent, and it starts up front with those guys. And I can't tell them how good of a job how good they are, and because they take on double teams, it allows us backers to become free and make plays. So props to them because it starts with them.
Defense played fast tonight, and that was our biggest thing. Everybody made plays, and it was just fun to get back out there and show everybody what we got. Quarterback got out a few times, but and some of the calls that's expected, but they were pressuring that kid all night. He didn't want to run the ball. He never could set his feet and make good throws. And then on the back end as well, they were just lights out tonight too.
I think they picked up where they left off a year ago, and it's fun to watch those guys flying around, and we got some great players on that side of the ball, and they had a great night and kept us in the game.
Now, Pittsburgh State turns their attention to a Week 2 road game against 14th-ranked Nebraska Kearney, a team that beat the Gorillas 28-17 in Pittsburgh last season.
To them, they better be ready. We're coming with vengeance.
As for Missouri Southern, they dropped their opener to Nebraska Kearney last night 24-7. They had a hard time getting in the end zone on offense, but the defense, pretty good most of the night. Dylan Bolden picked up an interception for the Lions. East Newton product Coleman Booker had a sack and finished with 7 tackles for the Lions. Now, it wasn't the result they wanted, but it is something to build on heading into Week 2.
They left everything out there. You could see the cramps. You could see the exhaustion in their bodies. You had a couple guys that took every snap on defense. That I could not be more proud of that group. Now, there's the good. We got to tackle better. Way too many missed tackles, way too many yards after first contact, way too many guys leaving their feet, throwing their shoulders, things that we don't teach in practice. If we tackle better, we probably give up 10 points rather than 17.
At the high school level, tonight is Week 1 in Southeast Kansas and Week 2 in Missouri and Oklahoma. Be sure to join us right back here on Fox 14 at 11 for this season's first edition of Press Box. That's a 30-minute show. All high school football will have highlights and scores from all across the area. We're back with more news right after this.
We're learning more about the efforts to restore water services to more than 100,000 people in the Mississippi capital. Fox News correspondent Charles Watson has more from Jackson.
The situation is slowly improving, but there's still no timeline for getting life back to normal here on day 5 of the water crisis. Some 600 National Guard service members now doing their best to distribute drinking water to tens of thousands of Jackson residents. They also have tankers with potable water so folks can bathe and flush their toilets, and they say these efforts will continue until services are fully restored.
It's like with any military operation. You never know what you're going to walk into, but you always plan, and then you show up, you do the work, and you adjust as conditions change.
But it won't be easy. One of the city's 2 main water treatment plants still mostly out of commission following massive flooding here. They've made some progress in restoring the flow to nearby residents, but say the water still isn't safe to drink or use for washing, acknowledging the hardships being felt by the city's 150,000 residents.
I know that you're dealing with a profoundly unfair situation. It's frustrating. It's wrong. And it needs to be fixed.
Meanwhile, frustrations are mounting among folks here who say they just want the water back on, especially with football season kicking off.
Hopefully it doesn't last like this for too long, because it's making schedules a little bit difficult. Start of the season is tonight, and we're all just looking forward to having a good time.
The National Guard said they're able to provide fresh water at these distribution sites to about 30,000 people every day. In Jackson, Mississippi, Charles Swanson, Fox News.
Coming up, why movie tickets will be $3 tomorrow. National Cinema Day is tomorrow, and movie tickets will be just $3 at a majority of theaters across the U.S. Fox Business Network's Kelly O'Grady is outside a movie theater in L.A. with details.
Well, it's National Cinema Day tomorrow. 3,000 movie theaters across the country will be selling movie tickets for just $3. And that's a pretty big deal when, you consider the fact that the movie theater behind me normally charges about $15 for an evening showing. That's an 80% discount. Now, the domestic film industry has seen a robust return with hits this summer like Top Gun Maverick and Minions Rise of Gru. And indeed, National Cinema Day organizers sharing with Fox Business that an aim is to celebrate that resurgence, saying, quote, "We're doing it by offering a thank you to the moviegoers that made this summer happen and by offering an extra enticement for those who haven't made it back yet." And getting those reluctant moviegoers back in theaters is key. While performance has been good versus the height of COVID, box office receipts are still down 20% versus 2019. Releases tracking 30% lower. Now, for context, 2019 saw 9 films cross that coveted $1 billion mark. 2022 has just 1 so far. Now, part of that's due to the straight-to-streaming phenomenon of the pandemic, but 66% of infrequent moviegoers share they're simply not interested in the current theater selection. The reality is many studios have delayed major releases to this fall or next year, and film production shut down for a number of months, so it will take a bit of time to catch up. Now, that $3 ticket gimmick has little downside, though. Labor Day is normally a very slow weekend as families take their last summer getaways, and upping foot traffic could entice viewers back to the theaters for a jam-packed fall that includes a long-awaited Avatar sequel and Wakanda Forever. But remember, just because your tickets are only costing $3 doesn't mean that you won't be shelling out for concessions with inflation. Personally, when I go to the movie theater, it's all about the popcorn. In Los Angeles, Kelly O'Grady, Fox Business.
Well, that's a wrap for us tonight. Thank you for tuning in. But we'll leave you with this video of lion cubs at an Indian zoo. Be safe, and we'll do this all again. See you then.